you love a story, and that's been true as anything in AEW, right? Like from Orange Cassidy, and we just saw one coming out with MJF as well. I do want to get into that quickly because I really enjoyed the trials of Jericho, and a lot of people had different thoughts. They were like, oh my God, it's like, yeah, Labour's, my apologies. They were like, oh, is it like a retirement tour because he's getting all of these stuff in? And it just turned out to be a great story in the end, man. Like, talk to me about handpicking those opponents, like who played the roles in that? Was that
well, I mean,
just fully you?
This is one thing I always love about being a storyteller is everyone thinks they know what's going to happen. And then when they think they know, in their minds, it manifests and become a thing. So if the story takes a left when they were expecting to go to right, they're like almost disappointed. And it's like, you're not telling the story. I am. And if it went the way that you could predict every time, well, then it wouldn't be much of a fun story, would it? It would be your story, not mine. So the labors of Jericho obviously comes from the Greek mythology and Hercules when he was facing the Minotaur on the island of Crete, and he had to go through these labors of things he had to survive to get to the next level. It's like a video game, and I just thought that'd be a great way to do it. Kind of what we did with Moxley in the Inner Circle, to where he had to beat all the members of the Inner Circle before he got a chance to go in there with me. And then we brought in Jeff Cobb one week as a little bit of a switcheroo. And the original idea for Max was for me to go through the pinnacle to get to MJF. And then we kind of thought, what if we switch it up a bit? So we started with Shawn Spears, which if you go back and look through the story, it all kind of tied in together, Spears was the one who lost the Stadium Stampede, and there was a lot of kind of little Spears seeds planted. And then I'm not sure if it was MJF or whoever said we should do Nick Gage. And I had just done the Dark Side of the Ring narration on Nick Gage. I never heard of him before in my life. Did the narration and got really fascinated by this guy's story and thought that would be really cool to do like a death match, And then, so if we're going to do a Nick Gage, well, let's do another kind of, because the idea was always Wardlow would be last, because Wardlow was always built up as, as the bodyguard of the Pinnacle and the tough guy. And if you remember, Wardlow's the guy who power bombed me off the stage when the Pinnacle first became a thing. That was the seed that was planted then months prior. I think of everything long term. So Wardlow was always going to be last. So once we did Gage, well, who else could we be? We had some ideas of being Chris Hero. One of the ideas was maybe one of the Inner Circle, like Sammy or Jake. But I thought that's so lame. Like there's no way that we had never turned on each other ever. And suddenly MJF is going to manipulate us to turn on each other for what? Like there's no way that would happen. I just didn't feel that at all. And then somebody suggested Hoovy too. I thought, well, that may be kind of fun. Like I haven't worked with Hoovy in years. It was a big rivalry 20 years earlier on WCW. So let's do, I'm not really much of a nostalgia guy. I don't like wrestling guys from my generation usually because we've seen it before. I've never wrestled Matt Hardy. I've never wrestled Christian Cage in AEW, and I never will. But I thought Hoovy would be good because we haven't seen him for a while, and it could draw a good number on the main stage. Hoovy's back. So as soon as we announced Hoovy, then suddenly it's like, oh, it's Jericho's retirement tour. Next week it's going to be Lance Storm, or next week it's going to be, Shawn Michaels, or next week it's going to be, whoever. And it's like, it's not a retirement tour. Like that's so stupid and so obvious, right? And there's no way I would do two of those because then it would take away the specialness of the Jericho Hoovy. If Lance was going to be in the position to do this, it would have been in the Hoovy position. So it was always going to be Wardlow at the end. I know some people are like, oh, it's Wardlow. But then when you see the story, like, well, of course it's fucking Wardlow. Who else is it going to be? It's just a year-long story that we've told from beginning to end, and every piece of that story made sense. So yeah, it was really, really cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought all of those matches were great in different ways. And it led to match number 5, where everyone thought, okay, Jericho's going to win. And not only do I not win, not only do I lose by tapping out via submission. Doesn't get much more concrete of a loss than that. And then where do we go? And then you continue on the story. So it's fun kind of telling the story where people know what's going to happen, except for they don't know what's going to happen. And then they get sort of intrigued and involved along the way.
Yeah, couldn't telegraph any of that, which again adds to the absolute fun of it. The other thing I'd like to touch on here is I know, as an amazing performer you are, I know you're involved behind the scenes in AEW as well, and you've taken that kind of, senior role, if you like, behind the scenes. And I know this. I've spoken to Britt Baker. She, reveled praise on you and how much you've helped her. Sammy, of course. I'm just intrigued with this influx of people recently, like Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk. Like, are you playing a role in helping them come in? Or what's it been like to welcome them in?
I mean, I think my role is just to be there if people need me. And I have been very integral. If you talk about the 4 pillars of the company that Max talked about, I mean, the whole concept of the MJF Jericho Inner Circle Pinnacle was twofold. Threefold. One, to tell a great story. Did we think it was going to go a year? No, it did go a year. And I'm very proud of that whole storyline. One of my favorites I've ever done. But the whole goal was to get MJF to the next level and to get Sammy Guevara to the next level. And all the other, bells and whistles that goes with it. And we did that in both cases.
Yeah, look how that's going.
And then you throw in Darby and Jungle Boy. I worked with both of them probably week 3, week 4 of AEW and taught them a few things that I think they still use. I know Darby for sure and Jungle Boy, little tricks that they learned in week 3 or 4 or 5 of Dynamite that they're still using now as they're 2 of the top stars in the company. So obviously when Punk comes in, when Danielson comes in, those guys are legit, WrestleMania Hall of Famers, ex-world champions. They don't need the same type of advice that I could give them. I can help them along in AEW if they need it, but they'll figure it out pretty quickly. Adam Cole, he's still a very young guy with not a lot of main event experience. Yes, NXT, but big league, full focus experience. I think he's still kind of, very excited to be there. He's a guy that I could probably help out a bit due to his experience level. Now he's a lot of experience, but not a lot of experience at our level. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy just kind of watching, and I have people all the time coming to ask me for advice. I ask advice too of some of the people. I mean, I don't do whatever I want. Tony Khan and I write my storylines very closely. Obviously, he has the final say. He'll come up with a template. I'll come up with a template. He approves it. I change it. He changes it. We're all together working in tandem. So anybody that comes in our company, that's how we work. And when I do end up working with those guys, which I'm sure I will at some point, then I can kind of give my side of the coin. They'll give their side of the coin, and we'll create some beautiful magic. That's kind of what we do in AEW.
And I can't wait. Speaking of which, I cannot wait. I know we were meant to get Fighter Fest 2020 was meant to be here in the UK. We know why that didn't happen. Stupid world. But nonetheless, man, things are opening back up, certainly here in the UK. We can run arenas and stuff now. Yeah, every week I get people asking me, when are AEW coming to the UK? I don't know, Chris. I'm hoping you know something, brother. Have you got any kind of inclination, hopes? Give us something.
That's kind of out of my pay grade. I mean, I do know that we just saw a WWE tour in England. I know that Fozzie's coming to England in December, and I know that we're almost 100% sold out the whole tour, like
wow,
14 gigs or whatever. So that's a good barometer. Like people are waiting to see us again. Obviously with the connection with Tony and Fulham and his relationship in the UK. I mean, we have a place to go in the Craven Cottage. A stadium show. I think it's just a matter of time. I would say probably, if I had to guess, probably in the summer when all questions are gone. I think once the cons start going to England to attending some of those games, that's a good indication, because I don't think they've been to the UK since. And like I said, I'll know more when we go over there in December, just exactly what the climate is. But it seems now that all of these, I know even for the Jericho cruise, which is on October 22nd, 21st, there's a lot of international kind of travel issues. They're all gone November 1st. So it seems to be all opening up. And when it does, I would say in the summertime, probably Fighter Fest, this next year, 22. If I had to guess, don't make this a clickbait, but if I had to guess, I would say Fighter Fest 22 will be in the UK.
Don't worry, that's the tweet. Chris Jericho guesses. Don't worry.
That's right, exactly.
But I do, you just mentioned the cruise, man. Congratulations on all you got so many things going on.
Thank you.
It's incredible. What's the wrestling looking like for that? Do we know yet? Are you going to be recording stuff with AEW there, or how are things looking on the cruise?
I'm actually having a meeting with Tony tomorrow. I know there's going to be an AEW camera crew on. We did Dynamite last time. This time that's not going to happen, but I think there will be lots of AEW of the matches recorded for different outlets. We've got 4 shows between Elevation and Dark, obviously Rampage and Dynamite. Like I said, the cruise is meant to be one giant party. That's what it is. It's been a little bit more of a hassle getting it out on the water this time with all the issues, but once we get on the water, people are going to remember just how much fun it is. And I'm excited too. It's the first and maybe only alliance of Orange Jericho, Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho tag teaming for the very first time. And that's what the cruise is, just a unique experience where you're going to see things that you won't see anywhere else, and just have a great time. So we've got a great roster, lots of great bands and comedians, and so much stuff to do. It's just a blast. Actually, we always have a great contingent of UK guests. That's not as much this year, obviously, because of the bands, but I think we're going out again early next year, and I expect to see a great collection of UK people, because they're just completely nuts and always have a great time as well. So it's just a lot of fun, and we just got to get it back out there, film it, and I think everything's going to be okay.